nor has it been indicated to me that I will receive any amount of PigeonCoin for this interview. I did not demand.
I just slayed the whole interview.
I mean, it's not that I don't love this particular sound. Hey,
how's it going?
Good.
Sorry to throw the curveball.
No,
I was
it's fine.
clean up like everything in the back behind me because there's all kinds of junk in this office, so I wanted to get that out of frame. And plus, my office was originally for building hearing aids, so it's quite a bit different than your typical computer office. So now that I'm not doing hearing aids so much, then it's kind of like not the right space for sitting in front of a computer all day. And I don't have like the glorious like couch and all the plants and everything to make it look incredible on voice streams, video streams.
Yeah, right. That is, well, hey, life is full of disappointments. That's all I'm going to say about that. It's a question of like, which compromises are you willing to make to get ahead?
Right, exactly.
Awesome. So, like, again, to your point, disassembled GPU rigs that may or may not have components that are supposed to be in the United States. I can neither confirm nor deny. I appreciate you taking time, man. This means so much. My community has reached out specifically and said, "Hey, PigeonCoin is interesting. I've got some big Ravencoin fans, which I'm sure you get a lot."
Yeah, absolutely.
Right,
they're like the root of our community for sure.
Awesome. And so, I mean, before we even jump into the other stuff, like, what is the community vibe like between PigeonCoin community and Ravencoin community?
So on our end, I'm totally pro Ravencoin. Like, I love the project. I think what Bruce is doing is incredible. In a lot of ways, I think that one of the most disruptive industries for blockchain is in signing assets to a blockchain. So when I first heard about the Ravencoin project, I was sold, you know?
Yeah.
So it's actually funny for me because we have people that trickle into our community and they essentially say things like, PigeonCoin is like a worse Ravencoin. And I'm like, dude, we're not even Ravencoin. Like Ravencoin's great. I'm not trying to compete with anybody over there.
Yeah.
In fact, when I first did the X16S algorithm, I had reached out to the Ravencoin devs to basically be like, have you guys considered doing something like this? I didn't get any response back, so I just kind of went ahead and did it. You know, so,
I think that's crypto, man, in a nutshell, or blockchain and crypto vibe, right? Like, it's like rebels trying to work with other rebels.
And like I just said, I got nothing back. So then I was like, well, I guess I'll just take a stab at it. And then X16S happened.
Nice.
And the rest is history. So
nice. Okay, awesome. So I was gonna ask. I've got like this list of questions and stuff,
yeah.
And I think I even mentioned a couple of things that I'd be asking, so it's not weird. Again, for the purpose, disclaimer for anybody who's watching, a disclosure statement, I did send a couple of questions over to Luke just so that he was aware of the nature of the questions that I'd be asking, but Luke did not edit my questions, nor did he endorse any questions. I was not promised any amount of PigeonCoin, nor has it been indicated to me that I will receive any amount of PigeonCoin for this interview. I did not demand.
I just slayed the whole interview. The whole thing. We shouldn't even continue after that. It's done.
Yeah, right? Oh, man. So I can neither confirm nor deny that it has been indicated to me. Oh, jeez. But I just need to put that disclaimer out there. There are so many YouTubers and so many, like in crypto, man, it is pay to play. When it comes to media coverage, it just, no matter where you go, the major sites, right? Major news sites, I'm not going to name names because it's a really small community on YouTube, right? Of people reviewing coins specifically and reviewing proof of work and GPU mining specifically. So without naming names, I'm just going to say that for anybody watching, if you're watching reviews, you should be asking, was this person paid? Because 8 times out of 10, they were paid. They extorted a price from their interviewee.
So I'll just say this right now. We've been reaching out to people to try to do videos like this. And we've got a group of ambassadors who are kind of new to like being inside a coin. And these guys are like, am I allowed to swear on your channel? Is that okay?
Yeah, I'll probably just blank it out. Do it.
All right. So these guys are basically like, holy shit, I can't believe how much money these people want to like just do an interview. Oh. Right? And my experience from previous to this is that content creators would do more collaboration on content than they would just literally the reply will just be like we had someone who had 20,000 viewers or 20,000 subscribers, and they just sent us an email that said, you can send 5 Ethereum to this address, and we won't respond to your email unless you do that first. And I was like, what the heck? This is insane. And it's not just content creators, it's everything. It's some of the wallets that you can get listed on. We've had some wallets tell us that they want $8 million to add us to their wallet.
That's not the first time I've heard that either.
Looking for an industry to get into, maybe consider building wallets, because holy moly.
Jeez.
And so definitely there's a lot of gatekeepers in crypto, is what I'm starting to realize now that I'm on the other side.
Yeah.
I started as mining, and then I launched this, and I figured that there would probably be some gatekeepers, but I didn't expect it to be like this much. So the disclaimer is good, because I didn't pay you anything. I'm not going to pay you anything.
At least you're not going to go on record now. You encourage all the other trolls, man, all the other gatekeepers and middlemen. Like, so they asked for whatever, 6 Ether, and they asked for $8 million.
Yeah, like, and that wasn't even that's just the tip of the iceberg, you know. So
yeah, I hear you, man. And again, the reviewers, where it's like, dude, you have a job to remain objective about reviewing stuff. How can you take a handout and convince anyone that you're objective? I mean, I think if anything, the series that I'm going to do now is probably going to turn into an expose about all the middlemen and all these fraudsters who are coming across as like objective reviewers.
Fascinating. The other thing I'll say is I've never paid for a video interview, so you can using your powers of deduction, you can figure out pretty quickly who in this space is not taking payments for interviews. So
awesome. Well, hey, thank you for legitimizing my efforts. Community, thank Luke for not feeding these trolls, because man, that's like patent trolls, right? The reason that we have them is because they're still successful at extorting tons of cash from people that they think they can squat on patents and IP.
Now, as much as I hate on them, I do have to say that crypto is inherently a perfect example of anarcho-capitalism, and these people have a way to make money, and they're doing it, right? So as much as I don't like it, it's also kind of like, what are you gonna do? Like,
sure, but at the same time, like
mortgage and you know, and it's
yeah.
Even though I don't like it, I mean, it's what can you do? You know?
Yeah, you're totally right.
What I do is I just don't do paid interviews. I guess that's what I do.
Nice. So hey, guys, you heard it here first. Luke Pighetti over at the PigeonCoin project is not doing paid interviews. Seth Estrada over here, I don't extort money for interviews because that just seems silly. Let's
another scam for you if you want to hear about it.
Totally. I'm all about hearing about scams.
Here's the other one. The other one is a lot of exchanges, newer exchanges, they will add a coin, and they will contact them about 2 weeks later, and they'll say, hey, we added your coin. Can you put us on your homepage? And if you say, we only work with people that we have like a relationship with, then and would you like to begin that relationship now? Their answer will be, no, we're going to delist your coin if you don't put us on your website, and they won't notify any of their customers that may or may not have coins in their exchange.
What?
Yeah, it's really messed up. So I hope I'm not like blowing the lid off crypto right now.
No, do it. Let's.
This is definitely things that we've started to run into, and so we are so particular about who we list on our website. Only people that we have relationships with, so that we know that we can pick up the phone and be like, what the heck is going on, that kind of stuff. So
no, that's awesome. I mean, you have to protect the interests of people who are coin bag holders, right? Like, well, and especially in that particular scenario, it's like you don't even actually hold a bag. You think you do. You have the notion of holding a bag. So regardless of what the market is doing, you don't have a say. You don't have a stake. That is nuts. Okay, guys. Wow. This totally went a direction that I wasn't expecting, but I'm really glad that we
That's
chatted.
how it always works, right? So
Awesome. So, Luke, to walk us through, you mentioned before that the workshop you're in right now, and I'm kind of, checking it all out. 2-tier workshop, got the storage over there. It was primarily built for, created for building hearing aids?
hearing aids. Well,
Walk me through that.
technically, I say hearing aids because it's easier. What it really is custom in-ear monitors. So what I used to do is people would go to an audiologist. They'd get silicone ear impressions made. It goes all the way down to the base of the canal. And then they'd send those to me in the mail. And I would have somebody make, I would then send it out and have shells made that were custom fit. And then I would fit hearing aid components inside it that are specifically for music reproduction. And what you end up with is a really high quality custom fit earphone that's like the best pair of earbuds you can ever buy, basically.
Got it. And then people go and listen to like ultra compressed MP3 and
Actually, no, these guys are pretty good. I don't have any of my in-ear monitors on hand right now, but before that I did actual like wood Grado headphones. So if you guys are familiar with the Grado SR60s and the RS2s and stuff like that, I used to do custom builds for Grado headphones. So
Renaissance man, crypto needs you.
I've always been into doing my own projects since that's how I learn most of the stuff I do.
That's awesome. Okay, so most recently then the in-ear monitors, like high fidelity monitors, perfect fit. And that's still something that you cut as a sideline, or has Pigeon completely consumed all of your time now?
I'm 100% Pigeon now. I've been doing like 80 hours a week in Pigeon since it launched.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. Even more. My girlfriend is amazing. She is very supportive and
awesome. So first ever Pigeon widow. Nice.
So there you go. But it's funny too. The name did come from the Ravencoin vein, so I think anybody can figure that out, right?
Yeah.
But what's funny now is whenever I'm in town and I see a pigeon, like I just laugh. I just laugh like an idiot because it like has such a connection for me because of like this project. And I've talked to other people in the team who are just like, yeah, I used to hate pigeons and now I see one and I smile because it's just so like. But this is like the funniest thing about crypto is that something with the name PigeonCoin, like whether you think it's a good name or not, it's still a real thing that actually holds real value. And that's one of the craziest things to me about crypto is the fact that that's a real thing.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're not going to talk about like cannabis coin or any of these other real things that hold intrinsic value depending on where you are in the world.
Where you are in the world, exactly.
Have people out in the city like chasing after pigeons, like, oh, I'm going to catch some.
This is mine now. But yeah, no, it definitely ties in with the idea of messaging and all that. So that was another reason for doing it.
Nice. Well, hey man, I love the branding, and I'm almost kind of sad to see the original low poly pigeon go.
Yeah, the low poly pigeon was awesome. That we decided to leave it as the bot at the very least, just to always have it around,
Nice.
To pay homage to the low poly pigeon. I really liked it too, but I didn't think that it was going to work for us for like the long term. So it was important to me that we really like nailed it down, something that we can build towards. So
okay.
But I totally get it. The low poly pigeon is great. I love it. It's going to stay as the bot.
Nice.
At the very least, it's got to stay as the bot, and we've got it as a custom emoji, that kind of stuff. But
so the low poly pigeon is to PigeonCoin kind of what Tux is to Linux.
Yeah, maybe that's probably a good example. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing both around for a long time. Let me ask. Let's go kind of back to the beginning. When did you first see a problem? You mentioned reaching out to the team over at Raven, talking to them not just about X16R, but moving into a new sequencing or a new randomization structure for the X16 algorithm, and then moving to X16S. Is that about right? Or
yeah, that's about right. So basically, I had started mining Ravencoin, and I had just bought one of those plug-in-the-wall watt meters because I came from a mechanical engineering background, so having those stats was like really important to me. And I was sitting there watching this rig, and I just kept seeing power fluctuating, going from like 1,200 watts, 1,600 watts, 1,100 watts, 1,500 watts, like all over the place. And it was changing block by block. And I knew that it had the random, the method where it would use the last 16 digits of the previous block hash to call from a list of 16 algorithms, because you got 16 digits in hexadecimal hash, all that stuff. So it would go through and call from their 16 algorithms, but some of the block hashes would repeat certain numbers, right? So maybe you'd have a 4 times, a 3 times, or whatever. And what I figured is I knew from experience, just practical experience, that different algorithms have different amounts of power usage, different hash rates. I mean, that basic stuff, right? And I knew that if that composition was changing regularly, then there would be blocks that were high power and there would be blocks that were low hash rate, or any combination of the two. And so I thought to myself, well, what if you just made sure that you always had each algorithm represented the same number of times each time, but still random, right? And my first thought was to trying to think how, I don't think I've ever explained this before, but when you're calling, so in X16R, you get those last 16 digits, and then you use each one to call from a list, right? So my first thought was what if you used each digit to kick off a cycle of 16? So if you started with like a 2, it would kick off 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, A, B, C, D, E, F, 1, 0, 1, right? And then on the next one, it would kick off another cycle, and the next one would kick off another cycle. But the reason I didn't do that is the hash rate at the end of the day would be 1/16 of what it was before. And while this wouldn't matter in practice, I knew that people using the algorithm would see that it was 1/16 that of X16R, and they'd be like, this thing is slow. You know?
Yeah, you get pushback from miners. Yeah, they don't get that it's like, it's all relative. Yeah, you're just as slow as the rest of the network.
I'm not talking shit about miners. It's just one of those things. It's a human thing, right? You see, X16R is doing 100 megahash on your system, and then you use my algorithm and it's doing 8, then you're kind of like, well, what the heck, right? So
yeah.
Especially when they're supposed to be similar things, right? So then I said to myself, well, okay, so what if instead you just use those 16 digits to reorder a list of 16? And that's what X16S Shuffle is. There's 16 algorithms, and it uses the last 16 digits of the previous block hash to take that list and reorder it in a way that changes every block. So it's still random. The order's still random like X16R, but the hash rate and power composition of each block is the same. And what ended up happening is, well, first of all, we had no way to test it without a GPU miner. So we launched the network on CPU mining, and I didn't even know if it worked as well as I had hoped, right?
Yeah.
Because there was no good way for us to test that with CPU mining. It wasn't until after it blew up on the Ravencoin chat that I hope I get his name right, Brian MCT, I think. He came in and he actually released a GPU miner. And when the GPU miner came out, I was so busy that I didn't have time to go down and install it. So I was waiting for people in chat to tell me if it was actually the correct hash rate, if it was power consistent and hash rate consistent. And sure enough, it worked out really well. So then my stance after that has essentially been, people seem to like it as an algorithm because it's got the same ASIC resistance as X16R, but it doesn't have the hash rate and power fluctuations. So to me, it's the best of both worlds. People seem to like it, and my whole thing has been that if people think it's a good algorithm, I want them to use it. So when other coins fork us so that they can get access to that algorithm, I'm fine with it. I think that's great.
Awesome. Okay, so you pretty much, you did this
in fact,
from purely engineering mindset, right? Hey, you want to solve a problem? Doesn't matter if my commercial offering is the thing. Just want to solve the problem.
Yeah, that's how it started. I literally just wanted to solve that problem, and that's where it started for me.
Nice.
Oh gosh, I was going to say something else, but I completely forgot.
Oh, well, hey, I apologize. So the big question for every single project, and I know you kind of went through this already, but maybe think of this question from a different perspective. Why a new token then? If you were focused on the new algo, was it primarily just as a vehicle to launch the new algo?
Yeah, so in the beginning, what it was to see how good the algorithm was going to work. That's why we weren't prepared for the horde, as I like to call them.
The
So
pigeon horde.
they're like, there's a huge pre-mine. There was no ANN. We didn't know about it. You're scamming us. And I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
if you don't do an and like right at the Genesis block, then you must be a scam.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so that's really how it started. And why a new coin? Because the Ravencoin devs weren't responding to my questions. So.
Any talks with Ravencoin about potentially forking proof of work with them or sharing X16S with Ravencoin? Because they've been forked now. There are a
number of issues. Because since we're forked from them, we've run into some things that we found in the source that we want clarification on that is a little bit unique to their source. And so we've reached out to basically be like, hey, we're on the same source and we're putting efforts into like trying to understand this thing that's happening. And I mean, that happens all the time, right? But in this case, instead of us trying to go to, because with the Bitcoin fork, like, or a Litecoin fork, which is the most common before the whole masternode thing, there were so many people who were using that source that you could easily just kind of like put your heads together on something to like try to make it better, right? But with Ravencoin, they went straight from Bitcoin, which I think was great, to their own source, and there were some things in it that were not like too keen on, and so, and I'm not going to go into them now, but basically we've reached out to them to be like, hey, like we're both working from the same source. Maybe we can put our heads together on some of this stuff to, you know what I'm saying? And we just don't hear anything back from them. So they're doing their own thing. Maybe there's a master plan that we don't know about. But all we can do is reach out and try to build that bridge, and
Sure.
That's doing. So
well, for the purposes of this video, hey, anybody from Ravencoin, if you're watching, this is the face of the PigeonCoin project. There's a face to the name you keep seeing in your email and on Discord and everything. And also, hey, here's a face of somebody that will interview you publicly and be a go-between for free.
For free.
There you go. Yeah, it's collaboration costs nothing. Good manners cost nothing. So
that's true. Yep.
So all right, awesome. So that makes a lot of sense. That's why the new algorithm and the new token launch. Which specific problems did you want to solve first? When you saw that, was it the algorithm, or was there? I guess you didn't really know about the other stuff until you got into it.
The other stuff kind of came as we went. So the main goal was to launch the algorithm, and we got a lot of people coming on to learn more just because of that. And actually, I think it was 5 days after launch, we had like 4,000 members in Discord, and that was like solved, right? And I was like, I thought we were going to be here for 2 months. You know, like I was just releasing the Explorer, and then I was like going to go like try to start editing the GPU miner to like go ahead and launch it. And then Brian came in and just like did it in an hour, and then people were running the code, and I was like, okay.
Beautiful. Beautiful, man. The power of community. Jeez. So I reached out originally on Discord, and you were like, yeah, we can interview. And I thought, at least as far as my experience of other projects, okay, maybe, and my apologies for my ignorance, I was like, okay, cool, Luke, he's part of the team. I didn't realize that you actually were the project lead, that this was your baby. So which is awesome. But who else is on the team now in terms of like above the line, maybe ambassadors, maybe people who are just working on the core code with you?
So we just started the ambassador program, which is awesome because we had a lot of moderators that came on early on. And what we learned pretty quickly is a lot of those moderators were hopping between coin projects. So they came to us initially, they offered their help, which we couldn't have done it without them. Don't get me wrong. But then something else comes up and they just move on to that. And I think that some of these people have done it like 4 or 5 times since we launched. So we had to do the ambassadors for a few reasons. One, because we really wanted a core group of people who could interact with the community, because a lot of people know that I spend a lot of time in Discord, and I'm trying to reduce that because, I mean, the reason I'm trying to reduce it is because I just end up saying the same stuff over and over and over again.
Yeah, right.
So
write a bot.
If I could say it once and then have the ambassadors like pick that up and like help me carry that, so I don't have to just like watch Discord all the time and answer the same stuff over and over again.
Can I say also, in terms of saying the same stuff over and over again and perfect use cases for automation, your Discord bot is one of the coolest, most functional Discord bots that I've seen in a project. I mean, like every time that I see somebody ask a question, and you're, instead of being like, hey, RTFM, you just like, you issue the command to the bot and you teach the community like, hey, here's how you can ask, what, does it have a name yet?
I think it's just called Pigeon Bot.
Okay, cool. So Pigeon, but I see you invoke Pigeon Bot.
I never thought about that. It probably should have a name, shouldn't it?
All right. Well, you can't really call it Pidge because it looks like pig, unless it's.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know. I won't come up with a name now, but I'm sure we will after this conversation. But yeah, cool. No, I appreciate you saying that, because I've actually spent a fair amount of time on that bot, and I don't consider it time wasted, because every time when I wake up in the morning, you need to kind of like sharpen the pencil, you know what I mean? And so jumping into the bot and like just adding a command is good, because you have to fire up terminal, you have to log into your server, you have to fire up Atom, you have to get that logged in, you got to open it up, you got to find the file, you got to do the thing. And when you get used to it, it doesn't take that long, but it really, like when you're tired, you've just woken up, it's like a nice thing to just like get stuff going, you know, like you wake up, you do your exercise, you get breakfast, you add a command to the bot. Like,
nice. Well, that is awesome, man. Seriously, again, like the thing that I noticed was that the way that you've been fostering community is that you're not like totally absent. You're there, but then you're modeling behaviors for a community that fuel best practices that keep people from feeling dumb, right? For asking the same questions over and over again. But you're doing things that are like, hey, you don't have to feel dumb for asking the same question, but I'm going to show you how to ask the bot.
Yeah, no, but actually it's funny because, you know, a lot of teams have, or a lot of Discords have bots in them. And we had somebody bring in a bot, and it was like 7 days after we launched, right? And I was like, I didn't really want a bot because I hate the really trashy bots. It's just a thing that I really hate about Discord. And our team was like, we need a bot, we need a bot, we need a bot. And this guy was like, I've got a bot we can use. And so finally I was like, fine. Why don't you bring it in? We'll give it a shot. So he sends me the link to add the bot. And the first thing it says is you have to give this bot full administrator privileges. And I was like, we had like 4,000 or 5,000 members in the Discord at that time. And I was like, I can just imagine this thing just like kicking everybody out of the fucking server, you know? So I was like, sorry, dude, that's not going to work. Right. So after some back and forth, they, I guess, adjusted it. I don't know why a bot would need administrative privileges. Probably so that they wouldn't have to go through and set them all manually. But still, I was just kind of like, this is a little wacky. So they adjusted some things, and then we launched it. I went to bed. I woke up the next day, and General was filled with people gambling with Pigeon with the bot in General. And I was like, what the fuck is this? We gotta get rid of this thing. So I just killed it. And then a week later, I was like, man, everybody keeps asking us, like, when Crypto Bridge, right? That's when it started. It was when Crypto Bridge. So I was like, what if we make a bot that just answers the when questions? Nothing else. Just answer the when questions. And that's where it started. So it got when Crypto Bridge, when Binance, when GDAX, when Coinbase, when mobile wallet, when, you know what I mean? It's just like on and on and on and on. And that's literally how it started. And then over time, I added more features to it, like the price and stuff like that. But
nice.
Literally, I was like, if we do nothing else, let's just get the when commands in there, because that will solve a lot of problems.
See, and I think that's what caught my attention, was that I saw somebody asking when Crypto Bridge, and you're like, hold on, I've got an answer for that. And you invoked the bot like when Crypto Bridge, and it came back like
Yeah.
The answer also was just great. I love that Pigeon Bot has a personality.
Yeah,
Like
he's
it's just a little bit not quite edgy or mean, but it's like very matter of fact. Like
yeah, like someone came in the other day and he was like, gosh, he messaged like 4 of our team, and essentially just, I'm sure he meant well. Let's just say that. I'm sure that he meant well, but he messaged 4 of our team, and he sent us something in Mandarin. I don't speak Mandarin. And then he sent me a video. He tried to call me on Discord, and then he sent me a thing that said, I really have to talk to you. And then he tried to call me again. And then in general, he tagged me, and then he said, do you want a faucet for your coin? Right? And I was like, I know the answer to this question. So I typed when faucet, and then PigeonBot just said never.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I love that it was so urgent too. It's like, no, you don't understand.
Yeah.
I've got to ask you about this faucet.
Your coin will die without a faucet.
Never. Oh man. I love these maybe he's bad news pigeon. Oh.
Now, we have the never for faucet, for masternodes, for airdrops, and all. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so man, that really that for me, it's kind of cemented my interest and my attention on the Discord channel. So again, kudos. PigeonBot is great. Want to see more commands for PigeonBot, more answers, etc. Just a randomization, maybe of some cool ways of saying no or never.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Get lost, kiddo.
As far as people who are officially on the team, you mentioned that you've had to onboard ambassadors because initially you had several moderators, but they've been kind of splitting their attention. And again, they're a necessary part of any growth. It's a phase gate you got to go through as a new project.
Yeah.
But then now you have ambassadors. As far as core team members, are you primarily doing a lot of the heavy lifting of the project on your own? Do you have any collaboration there?
We have a split with, I'd say, 3 other core members. So one of them is Kevin, and he did our entire brand identity. The work that he does is just incredible. And so he does everything essentially visual, everything graphic. And then we have Gabriel, who handles most of the heavy lifting on just doing communications with exchanges, other coins, so on and so forth. So he handles a lot of, I guess you could call it outreach, but a lot of people don't realize how important outreach is. So it's like he's a huge part of it. And then we have Todd, who is like a core developer. So he handles a lot of things, like when we have to make changes to the wallet, he'll do that stuff because he's got more experience with C++ than I do. And then aside from that, what I do a lot of time is I've taken on a large development role because it's really hard to find blockchain developers. I think this is probably not a secret. It's really hard to find blockchain developers. So what a lot of coins do is they get people in, and then they essentially just give them an opportunity to get familiar with the whole system. And for a lot of Bitcoin-based projects, a lot of that is really just getting familiar with the Bitcoin source, right? Because you end up being in more of a maintenance role than you are like a creation role for a lot of the Bitcoin forks.
Right. You're iterating more than innovating. Well, I'm glad you bring that up. At the end of the conversation, maybe offline, I'll talk to you about a couple of feeder schools that I'm aware of. And it's a great thing about doing these interviews is that I'm able to talk to kind of all sides of the industry without being anchored to one project. I mean, I've got my pet causes. I try not to be overly biased in interviews. My pet causes, but as far as coins and projects, man, I just want to see a rising tide. I just want to see everything grow.
That's definitely where I am too. As Todd and I go through the Bitcoin source, we start finding stuff that we're like, we don't necessarily agree with, right? When I first came into this, I was kind of like Bitcoin is the penultimate, right? That was like how I thought of it when I first got in. But as I go through it, I start to realize that there are things that I don't necessarily agree with. So it doesn't surprise me that there have been there have been projects that get started with a Bitcoin code, and then they're like, we just want to take a shot at it ourselves. And then, of course, the obvious one is Ethereum, but there's tons of them.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Right. Well, and now I think 2018, we're going to see so many projects like Loom. I started the just yesterday started with my brother. We have a brand new unnamed Sunday crypto show. We talked at length about EOS and Loom and all these other new projects that are making it possible to expand and increase adoption and bring, invite development and some innovation and stuff. But yeah, there are good reasons for some of these projects. But then you've got these other projects that are wanting to build secondary chains on Bitcoin. It's kind of like, ooh, we kind of have to rethink everything because maybe the Bitcoin maximalists are right or not, or like,
right. Yeah, it's too early to know, I think.
Right. Well, that's the beauty of this year, right? We're getting through the messy ICO, awkward adolescent phase of like frauds just coming in like, oh no, I'll totally build something. It's not vapor. Give me all your money.
Right. Exactly.
Back to basics. It's like the Steve Ballmer days at Microsoft, right? Screaming developers. Hopefully, right? We growing into this like, okay, stop saying it, start doing it, start giving tools and frameworks and platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. If we weren't doing this, what would we do? And that's always a fun conversation, but it's always theoretical,
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, after a good 80-hour week, like, do I really want this?
Yeah, exactly. The other thing too is that like if a coin is like, I kind of want to do something else, you've got a lot of people who've invested hash rate and money into the project. And so you can't just leave them, right? Even if we and this isn't something that we're going to do, but even if we did get to the point where like we want to build our own bespoke blockchain, we would have to come up with a way to bring the accounts over. Because if we didn't, it would just be horrible. And I just want to say, I hope that if other coins are thinking about like switching to a bespoke blockchain, which I think is going to happen a lot in the next couple of years, that they will consider bringing over the chain with it so that those accounts are not left out in the cold.
Right. No, it makes perfect sense. I mean, it's one of the problems I think of the digital era, right? Is record keeping and governance, figuring out what stays, what goes, for how long, and who decides.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Let me ask, as far as the team that's now expanded to this core team of approximately 4 now, with you doing the majority of the heavy lifting, what's some of the background and why? Like, I think it's become apparent that this is something you're genuinely passionate about. For anybody that's questioned it, I think on the Discord channel it's obvious, but for anybody who's just getting introduced to the Pigeon project via this video, it should be obvious that you've got genuine passion and that you really wanted to solve a problem and that you have done your level best to continue to bring your best problem solving to that problem.
Right.
With the rest of the team, why are they with you now? And as far as team growth and outlook for the project, what keeps them waking up every day? Like, you're hopping onto the server to update the bot. What gets them up out of bed every day and saying, all right, it's Pigeon today?
I think that's actually pretty easy. They see data collection in social media and they want to end it. And that's essentially what we're doing. We have kind of a unique way of doing things. We created the coin, right? And we are also simultaneously creating our own social network. Slowly but surely, we're creating our own social network. And the whole idea here is that we'll be getting revenue for the coin through things like our mining pool. And we want to use that money to essentially fund the social network. And what people do now with social networks is they collect data and sell it in the form of advertising, and that's how they fund the social network. That's how they fund a platform that's free to use. They turn the customer into the product and then sell that product to their real customers, which are people selling ads. So my whole thing is we've got all this all these cryptocurrencies, blockchain technology, and that's all fine. But what I want to do is use the Satoshi blockchain, in this case it's PigeonCoin, to create a funding mechanism for a social media network such that it won't ever have to collect data. And my hope, and I don't think it's that far off, is that there are enough people out there now who are thinking about that if they can verify that all of our funding is coming from something like a Satoshi blockchain, which is essentially totally verifiable with how public transactions are, then I think that people will, as long as our quality of service obviously is good, right? There's that baseline. Then I think that people will do that. And our promise to the miners is that the social network will have a PigeonCoin wallet in it, which might sound like a small thing, but it's kind of like, I don't want to compare myself to Apple Pay, right? But hear me out. So Apple Pay has done something really genius where everybody, like so many people have iPhones, and they already have the device and it has the Apple Pay software on it already. They don't necessarily use it, but if somebody says something like, hey, I found this thing, it's $3, then they'll get a tiny little dialogue at the bottom that says, do you want to set up Apple Pay? And it's literally like one press, and it already has all their information. In their case, they have all their information ready to go. You put in the CCV of your credit card, and all of a sudden you can transact for free through text messages. So what they've done is they have the device already exists for a lot of people. The software is already on it, and the barrier to entry is like typing in 3 numbers,
Jeez.
Right? So, and this is what makes Apple Pay such an incredible platform for transferring fiat currencies, right? And so my whole thing is, can we create a social network such that a lot of people are just using it, and then if the conversation of money comes up on it, we can provide an easy way to transact. And to me, this is the best way that I have heard of yet to truly bridge the gap of just getting people, normal people, into crypto. Because that's like the whole thing, right? Like you and me, we can transact in crypto no problem, but I think it's really easy for people to forget how hard it is to actually do crypto, because once you get into it, you're into it and you're doing it all the time, and it becomes so fluid and you're like, this is no problem. But if your grandmother's like, I want to send 10 Bitcoin to somebody, I mean, that's, was she buying a house? I don't know. But if she's sending Bitcoin to somebody, it's like, you got to get a Coinbase account, right? You got to set up your bank account. You got to pull the money out. There's a limit. You got to convert it into Bitcoin. You got to send the Bitcoin. You know what I mean? So there's like that whole thing. And so what I'm trying to do is basically be like, hey, grandma, are you already on the social media app? Yes. Then just tap, and away it goes. So it's kind of trying to apply the Apple Pay model to crypto, if you will.
Got it. Okay, I've got to ask that because it begs the question. I know somebody has already been asking in the comments, so hey, guys, chill out. Hopefully you can delete your comment now. But how does this compare, or have you already been in conversations with the Steam and the Steemit team about, because there are multiple platforms now that are being based on the Steam network and using it as a form of like literal currency paired with social currency, with the promise of some anonymity and privacy for user data, and then a platform where they can easily transfer funds from user to user. It's now ease of use, like it's arguable whether or not Steam is really user friendly.
That's the first. I mean, that's the first thing. Like, so I'm sure somebody in the comments will be like, "Wow, this guy's an idiot." But hear me out.
Well, it doesn't matter who I interview, dude. I could have interviewed Stephen Hawking before he left, yeah, there's always going to be somebody who's yeah.
My experience with Steemit, first of all, I think the project's incredible, and it's clear that they're doing something right? So don't get me wrong there. But when I went to Steemit's website to try to figure out the mechanics, it's not really clear. From what I remember, and again, I haven't looked at it in a couple months, but from what I remember, there's a token, some kind of token. There's like a token you can stake, and then there's like the Steam or whatever that you can use to like and do all that kind of stuff. And again, I didn't like look at it to prepare for this interview, so go easy on me. But basically what I took away from it is that it's not particularly simple. It's kind of like people come on and create content and then they get paid for it, but the actual mechanics of it didn't seem very clear to me on the surface. And every time I went to go look for explanation videos, they were like 50 minutes long and they didn't really get into anything. They were just like showing what the platform looked like, you know? So that's my only real knock on Steam. That might be different now than when I first looked at it, but
yeah, I don't think it is substantially different from your experience from a few months ago. UI hasn't changed much, certainly. Onboarding hasn't changed significantly. But as you know, blockchain projects, man, it's hard to be really agile in terms of UX overall.
For sure, yeah, definitely.
So Yeah. So I don't think anyone, if anyone is critical in the comments, I think you should reserve some of that criticism. There's nobody in the blockchain space that's like, oh yeah, totally. You want to change to the UI? We'll do it overnight.
Right, exactly. I guess what I mean, the other thing I want to get at is my understanding of Steam is they're more of like a publishing platform, that they're less of like a traditional social network.
Totally. Yeah, it's totally true.
So
But
that's
yeah,
the other thing. Like there are a lot of projects that are doing messaging, right? Sometimes I wonder if Telegram's ICO is going to turn into some kind of actual coin on Telegram. I don't know for sure, but they are doing pure messaging. So even though we talk about messaging, they're not necessarily a direct competitor because we're talking about doing like a traditional social network,
right.
which is a little bit different. Because do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, totally. Because it's one thing to have. I mean, encrypted private messaging has been around for as long as the internet has. Yeah. So in terms of offering encrypted private messaging with a mechanism to transfer some kind of unit of value, it's been around a lot longer than most people give it credit for.
Right. I mean, you got WeChat. You got. I'm gonna have a hard time naming them all now. But you got WeChat, and you've got whatever the one that WhatsApp. I think you can do that too. WeChat's the big one, of course, in China. So I mean, so many people like here we use PayPal, Apple Pay, and Google Pay, like that kind of stuff. My understanding is in China they just use WeChat for everything. Like it's really rare for people to actually use debit cards and credit cards anymore, and which is pretty amazing when you think about it. So we'd like to be there as well, but I really want to stress that we're trying to get like data collection out of social media because that's where I think it's like the most heinous offender.
Yeah, for sure.
So
for sure. So public messaging and public socializing, that's going to be a tough nut to crack. So without a really strong basis for transferring value and for valuing privacy, then that's going to be it's a noble goal.
Well, at the very least, that's what it is.
Awesome. Okay, so it sounds like then the entire team is on board with this long-term vision then. And so let's talk a little bit. Here's kind of a bonus round, and we'll go like flash round, right? So ASIC resistance, why does it matter?
Why does ASIC resistance matter? Well, it matters because if you believe that blockchain cryptocurrencies are supposed to be decentralized, then ASICs create centralization in 2018. Then clearly resisting ASICs is promoting decentralization.
Awesome. I agree with you from that standpoint. There are some who would argue that because of services like NiceHash, and I know this sounds like a trivialized argument or like an oversimplified argument, but some people would argue that because of NiceHash being an actor in the market and because of the total hash rate on certain algorithms being so high on NiceHash, and then further smaller coins and ICOs and forks coming onto the network, you see where I'm going here, it requires less and less hash rate, less and less hashing power to be able to dominate those newer networks, or those newer coins at least. So some would argue that it doesn't matter whether you go with ASICs or whether you go with GPUs on those networks, because you can use a service like NiceHash as your jackbooted thug, kick down the doors of smaller coins, then you may be able to do 51% attacks with that. So
that's a really good argument. That might be the best argument I've heard for it doesn't matter.
And for my part,
honestly, that's the best argument I've heard for it doesn't matter.
Thank you. And I think that's hopefully NiceHash. I've heard some other people argue that like, well, no, NiceHash doesn't allow that. And it's like, well, really, how in the world could NiceHash police that? They'd have to be aware of every single pool and the projects contributed to by every single pool on every single port, so that you knew exactly which coin was being done. I don't think that they have eyes on every single pool that you point their hash power to.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, they probably don't. I mean, maybe they could do something account level, like you can only spend so much in a short period of time. But I mean, it's like everything else in crypto. If somebody's going to give you money, 9 times out of 10, the other person's going to take it.
Right.
So unless you're you doing your no pay to play videos. You're 10%.
I'm totes independently wealthy, but it's not in Bitcoin. Don't capture and torture me, please. Okay, actually, I'm not totes independently wealthy. Don't torture me. I don't know. I just believe like there are certain questions that you want to be able to ask and you want to be able to answer without knowing that there are repercussions or weirdness involved. And you can't do that if there's been a backdoor deal.
That's true, yeah. But no, actually, I have to tell you that I think that your argument for that, because I think it's really important. Like, it's important to have a set of values and convictions about what you're doing, but it's also important to like be aware that you might be wrong. And I'm not telling you that I'm wrong, but I am telling you that that is the best argument I've heard for it doesn't matter.
Awesome. And on that same note, like I tend to agree with you that resisting ASICs is a great way of resisting centralization, mostly because for the average 80% of the market person that has so much disposable income, certainly in developed nations like the United States, realistically, you only have so much buying power, and most ASICs just don't fit what the majority of people can spend in discretionary income on a regular ongoing basis unless you've saved up. But a GPU totally fits the bill, an added GPU at regular intervals.
I'm sitting here thinking about your original argument. The only thing I can think of now is that it would seem pretty stupid for somebody to spend a lot of money to destroy the value of a coin. So maybe that's the biggest thing that would stop the NiceHash 51% attack.
Yeah, possibly.
The other thing I can think of is to take out a competing chain. That's probably the best case I can think of for an actual NiceHash 51% attack.
Yeah, I mean, and a NiceHash, I don't know that I'm going to get any phone calls returned from them to do any interviews anytime soon. I think
NiceHash, I'm not trying to single them out either. They're just, everybody knows what they do, and it's almost like the term Kleenex. You know, like NiceHash doesn't actually necessarily mean NiceHash. It just means any mining rental facility. They just are so unfortunate to be the one that everybody thinks of first whenever we're having these conversations.
Yeah, that said, watch. I mean, we just increased their monthly recurring revenue by like another $5 billion just by having this conversation. It's lonely at the top.
But no, I will say this. There's a family member that I speak to regularly who his background is in private equity. And we like to talk about cryptocurrencies because he's just so fascinated with them. And the question he always asks me is, let's say you've got a blockchain that's worth $300 million and it costs $1 million to 51% attack it. Why wouldn't you just do that and like create your own coins or double spend into like Coinbase or something like that, right? And the only argument I really have against that is essentially that if you did that, you destroy the value of the coin that you were trying to get out of it. So it's like kind of self-defeating.
Unless you know that it has high liquidity and you can ditch the hot goods fast enough, which is, I think, what happened with Bitcoin Gold.
Is that really what happened with them?
I think so. I mean, it's public record now. $18 million in US dollar equivalent gone.
Yeah. Wow.
It's non-trivial with some of these blockchains. And when you look at the total network hash rate of a coin like Bitcoin Gold, pales in comparison to, say, Zcash, which uses the same algorithm. Right. So I don't know, man. It's been tough for me to tangle like mentally with that question as well, because ideologically, I'm very pro GPU, right? I'm very pro independent miner. But then like you look at that and it's like, so I guess, am I saying that I'm anti NiceHash? Is that kind of what I'm getting at? I'm anti like hash power renting because, the little guy wants to earn money too. So if his favorite coin, unless he's, mining a portfolio, if his favorite algorithms aren't offering him the return that he needs, the internal rate of return that he needs to break even, where do you go with that?
Yeah, there's so many things about mining that I really dislike. But at the same time, mining is supposed to be purely anarcho-capitalist that you almost can't really be upset about it.
Yeah.
And NiceHash is one of those things. Another thing is profit switching pools. We've had a lot of problem with profit switching pools with a small chain. And man, I am not a fan of profit switching pools, but at the same time, they are operating under what people would consider an efficient market.
Yeah, at the same time, like I kind of like if KYC exists as an institutional rule for these companies knowing who's mining with them, let's coin a new phrase, shall we? KYC, know your coin. If you don't, as a miner, know exactly what you're mining, why are you doing it, man? Like,
yeah, that's true too. The profit switching pools, I mean, they literally just like. So I'll say this: like something like mining pool hub, right? You can pick an algorithm like Equihash, and you know you're going to be getting Zcash, Z Classic, Zencash, Bitcoin Gold, right? There might be another one I can't think of right now.
but
But
I just interviewed the principals of Bitcoin interest. They'd be like, hey, us too.
Oh, okay. So then, right? But here's the thing: is on Mining Pool Hub, I think there might only be 4 of them, specifically on Mining Pool Hub.
Okay.
So with a situation like that, like I have faith in all 4 projects. So when I mine Equihash there, then I am kind of getting a diverse portfolio without me having really to do any extra work. But the problem that we've had with it is, well, diverse portfolio that I believe in without having to sit there and, you know what I mean, like trying to change it all the time. Now, that all said, we've had a lot of problems with a profit switching pool that has caused our difficulty cycles to just fluctuate wildly and has actually caused a lot of problems for us. And that was essentially because this pool, when we would become the most profitable coin, which happened once early on in the beginning, then they sent a bunch of hash rate our way. So they sent a bunch of hash rate our way. Their miners made a ton of money for about 6 hours.
I may or may not have been riding that wave.
It could be. I mean, it's like, what can you do, right? But just to illustrate the problem, we were really profitable one day. They came on, mined a bunch of coins, just fine. And then the difficulty raised. It went up 4x, which is the limit on the Satoshi blockchain. So the difficulty went up 4 times. And then all of a sudden we weren't profitable at all. So everybody left. And then it takes forever for those blocks to turn over. Like instead of it being like a day and a half, it ends up being like 2 weeks, right?
Oh, geez.
And so you're just waiting for that to tick over so you can get to the new difficulty. That clicks over, difficulty drops 4x. All of a sudden, we're 3 times what to mine for profitability. So all those profit switching pools come back. And we end up having from an academic standpoint, it's one of the most impressive undamped oscillations I've ever seen. And it's just incredible. Like, it's really cool, but it's awful because what ends up happening is our core miners, they can't afford to stick around. So we've had to make some changes because of that. And that is one of the situations where it's like, damn you, profit switching pools. But at the same time, it's like I can't really blame them because they're just operating under an efficient market.
Right, but on your end, yeah, you got this staccato participation in your project.
Exactly, and it can be really irritating. So,
well, bummer. Let me ask really, again, sort of bonus round, flash questions. Profit or proof of work in general. Where do you think all this is headed?
Yeah, we talk about this a lot. I still think that proof of work is the most proven and the most secure of all of the methods, right? And I say it's most secure because we kind of know why it's not good. You know what I mean? We pretty much can agree what's not good about it. And we can pretty much agree that most of the time it's fine, right? Now, with the newer methods of consensus, we don't have the ability to really say that or do that, right? We can just say, this is why we think it might work better. And I can come up with all kinds of reasons why different methods might work better. But I think that we need at least the same amount of time running those as we've been running the Satoshi blockchain, which, that's like 8 years now? So if a lot of these coins have launched in the last 2 or 3 years, some in the last year, I'm going to reserve judgment for 5 more years. I mean, that's all I can really say about that. But
sure,
there's definitely some consensus methods I think are totally fascinating, and I'm keeping an eye out. And when we're just kind of talking among ourselves about the different consensus methods, there's some that we find truly fascinating that could have some really interesting uses.
Awesome.
And actually some really interesting uses for messaging, which is part of what we're doing. So we do talk about it, but and I try to like, this kind of goes back to what I was saying before. I try really hard to use the best thing that's available for us at that time. I don't know if that's going to change in 2 years. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm all in on proof of work today. And I have absolutely no reason to change my opinion on that. But like I said, in 5 years, when these things have a longer track record, then maybe I'll have a different opinion. I mean, what can I say?
You're in a unique position in terms of proof of work because you saw problems with the proof of work algorithm that you were evaluating for your project or that you were looking at most recently. So, I mean, I would say if there's anything to be learned, anybody else who's considering forking a coin or creating their own blockchain project, maybe you can follow a loose lead here. And it's like, if you don't want to be subject to 51% attacks because the larger networks could come in and gobble you up, punch you in the face with all that hash rate, all that hashing power, maybe consider making a new algo.
Who knows? Yeah.
Can I ask really briefly as a follow-up question there, proof of useful work? You hinted at something that includes messaging. Would you be open, and this is a very public question, very public forum, but would you be open to talking with other coin project leads and forming a sort of loose, informal consortium in terms of ongoing talks about proof of useful work? Because proof of work is proven.
So what do you consider proof of useful work? Before you get into that, I will say this. I am all for networking with other coin devs. I would love to be able to network with other coin devs. I was hoping that there was like some secret Discord that I could get invited to, but I haven't heard about it yet, so I don't know if it exists or not. But I would definitely really like to be talking to other devs, especially people who are building new technology, because that is really fascinating to me, and I do want to be a part of those conversations. Now, what did you mean by proof of useful work? Because I've never heard somebody say that specifically, and I find it fascinating.
Yeah. So, I mean, what you brought up, most recently interviewed Christy Lee Minahan, Ogata Girl, if you're familiar with her work. And she's also involved in a project called Prog POW, which is gaining some traction. There's some people who are interested in it, several different, she's talking to several other project leads about that. For my part, I think Prog POW is interesting. And in our interview, the second part, so anybody who tunes into this before the second part comes out, it's a spoiler alert, we talk about proof of useful work. And I kind of spitball with her. There's so many applications for proof of work, right? And right now we are literally throwing compute cycles at nothing and generating heat, right? In terms of the physical byproduct of what we're actually doing, what are computers actually producing other than solving, to oversimplify the concept, solving complex problems? What useful heavy lifting are those compute cycles doing? We could be cycle scavenging for all kinds of other stuff.
Protein folding, SETI at home, like those kinds of things.
Yep. But also, but computer rendering. When we're talking about ASIC resistance, and if you're on board with ASIC resistance, putting power back into the hands of the little guy that can afford GPUs, well, those architectures were based entirely off of moving high poly count, high resolution textures on, and rendering different complex 3D scenes. So that's one example of what the architecture was specifically created to do. And I wonder if there's some way to cycle scavenge on behalf of a project that it benefits from that unique hardware design.
I'm not going to be able to mention the name of the coin because I can't remember it. There was a coin that was doing, I think it was SETI at home, and their actual algorithm was what you might call useful work. Now, I will tell you this. The one thing that I hate the most about proof of work is the fact that the computations are essentially wasted, right? Now, some would say they're not wasted because they're being used to run the network. Like, I get it, right? But in reality, it's fucking wasted work, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
So I have always been of the mindset that if you're going to spend the electricity and the buy the equipment and get it all set up and do all that stuff, you might as well be doing something useful like protein folding or whatever the other example. I mean, I'm sure there's tons of them, but
yeah, I use the poor example because it's entirely entertainment oriented and it's higher like media consumption culture oriented. but folding it home is far more useful to humanity.
Yeah, or that, right. No, okay, so I see what you're saying. You could use it for doing like rendering video and stuff like that. I think that's what you're getting at, right?
Well, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, whether it's rendering video or...
That's an example. You can do something like that. Yeah, no, I think that's great. If somebody can figure out a way to replace like SHA-256 with we're going to do something that's actually useful, like you got my full support, right? So I will say that. I had heard somebody the other day said to me, or maybe I can't remember, maybe I read it somewhere. They essentially said, I wonder why nobody's made a like a cryptocurrency version of Amazon's, I think it's called Mechanical Turk.
Ooh.
And are you familiar with Mechanical Turk?
Oh yeah, from back in the day. It's a legit service for anybody who's entrepreneurial. You had to have considered it.
Right. So it's one of those things where, like, for people who don't know about it, you can come home, log onto your computer, and like drink a beer and do things like, I don't know, mundane tasks, right? It could be something like taking a spreadsheet that's an image, and you can go through and like type it all out into like an actual spreadsheet. So it goes from useless image into actual spreadsheet. And that's just one example. There's hundreds of thousands of things you can do on Mechanical Turk. So the idea was essentially that you're proving humanity by doing work that humans can only do that is repetitive, like something that's on Mechanical Turk, because the stuff that's on Mechanical Turk is stuff that a machine can't do. You need humans to do it.
But you're also siloed from the corporate or from the financial interest that has sponsored the work and their project goals. So you may well be validating the results of AI, for all you know.
Could be, right. That's true. Right, you could be. So, but the idea is that that you can prove individuality and human work and potentially pay them out on a network and use that to as the hash, so to speak, of that would be generated now with GPUs and proof of work. So
nice.
It's kind of like a whole other thing that has nothing to do with running your GPUs as a miner, but it is an interesting idea that I heard somebody throw around. So if you're going to throw it out.
Very, very cool. Yeah, so alternate proofs of work and proof of useful work is kind of, I think, where a lot of the conversation is headed right now. Super excited to hear that you're on board with having that, with with joining the consortium. That's kind of what I'm calling it right now. But there are several other project leads and founders who have kind of said, like, yeah, man, where is that secret Discord? Like, how do we get the conversation going without it seeming like...
I think people are kind of weird about it.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any reason to be weird about it, personally. So,
I agree, but I can't be bought.
Right.
I'm just kidding. Offer me like $200 million. That's the number. Everyone's got their number. That's mine. Just that don't come cheap. Awesome. So last question, and this is the big one. This is the big one. When people think of your project, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what do you want them to notice and remember about the PigeonCoin project?
I think what I want them to notice or what I want them to remember is that we did our fucking best, whatever that is, right? And that's really it in a nutshell. I want people to really feel like we put in the effort and gave it our best shot.
Awesome. Well, hey, I think from a bird's eye view. Whoa. I can only say the two projects, man. I think for right now, though, from just evaluating it, man, I don't think anybody could criticize you or the project or anybody that's working with you of doing any less. So, man, I thoroughly appreciate you taking the time. Thoroughly appreciate you putting in the kind of passion that you do into this project. And anybody who's on the Discord, they can just see it. You guys are so driven. So I can validate that right now, nobody can argue that that's what you should be remembered for today.
Well, I appreciate you giving me the time to do this interview. It's always good to collaborate on content, and I think proof of useful work is really fascinating. I think that it could potentially solve a major problem with essentially the waste that is created by proof of work. And for any of you people who are really into like process engineering, you should check out Taiichi Ohno, because one of his whole things, he's the guy who gave birth to the Toyota production system, which eventually then turned into Lean and Six Sigma and all that stuff. And one of his biggest things was taking waste and turning it into product. And so the idea of being able to take the waste from proof of work and turning it into like a functional thing, actually make it actually useful, that's just like amazing, and it's a perfect place to optimize proof of work, and in my opinion, make it more viable for the long term future of proof of work. So I definitely think that it's really exciting to hear that that's what people are talking about, and I would like to be part of those conversations.
Awesome. Well, then we'll talk sooner than later. Luke, appreciate your time, man. Appreciate the passion you're putting into it. And hey, anybody who has questions for Luke for the next interview, because it's going to happen, throw them down in the comments, and you can hit him up. Do you have an ongoing open invite to the Discord? Do you want me to put in the comments as well?
Yeah, I can put it in the comments for sure.
Awesome.
And you can just find out our website, PigeonCoin.org. We got all the links on the front page. It's super easy to find everything. So
awesome. I fully intended to pull up all that stuff during our interview, but I think
it's no worries.
Yeah, so it'll be somewhere. But guys, hey, show the Pigeon Project some love down in the comments. And if you're supportive, be vocally supportive. If you're not, ask good questions. Don't just troll.
Yeah, right. We are all about constructive criticism. So go for it. But it has to be constructive. If it's not, I'm going to call you names.
Right. Fly to the Congress. Be more constructive with your criticism. Hey guys, Seth here. Wanted to say thanks again for watching to the end of the video. Hit the subscribe button down below and then click the little bell icon so that you're notified when new interviews like this drop. Please consider also making a generous but anonymous donation to the crypto tip jar you see down below in the description, or click on any of the affiliate links. Those are both ways you can support the channel and support us not having to take sponsorship money or shilling for companies that want to hire us to produce videos for them. You're the reason I make these videos. I love your face. I'll see you in the next one.